So I'm going to call to order at 7:05 and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is over there. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so now we are on to the board voting in a vice chair.
Everybody should have a slip of paper in front of them.
And we need nominees.
I nominate Matt Belchberg.
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody else?
All right, let me think for a second.
It sucks we're missing two. But.
Don't tell me I passed that paper for nothing.
Save a tree.
Save a tree. All in favor of Matt? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Adrian, I can't see you. Did you hear me? Okay. All right, well.
I think unanimous.
Yep. Congrats, Matt.
Congratulations, Mom.
Okay,
You can
so
explain that to my wife later.
I'm not explaining anything to you. Approval of the agenda, but we have a. Did we have, no, it's modified minutes, correct? Okay. So,
Actually, well, one thing I'd say, Stan had some late-breaking news on oil costs, so he's got a question that it would be, I think, really timely to add to the agenda, if that's okay with folks.
Sure.
Do you have some, is that specific enough?
Yeah.
Fuel contract?
Whether to accept a propane contract, and the other one is to discuss possibly putting out a bid for fuel in the near future.
okay. Let's put.
Why don't you put it in 12 and 13, because
Okay.
you're going to be talking about
You're gonna be
meal
talking about
prices, right?
elementary, the school. Food?
Probably left on, out there from the last board meeting.
We were thinking we maybe would have it by now, because we didn't have it yet, but we may still not have it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just replace
There you go.
that with your oil. Okay, so 11 is now,
13 is fuel
13 is
contract.
now fuel costs. Okay, so do we have an approval of that agenda?
Can I make another motion,
Yep,
another addition?
yep,
When the item that comes up about the support staff contract,
yep.
it was listed as support staff approval, but it wasn't noted as discussion and possible vote. I'd like to at least put the option in of voting on the support staff contract. The association made a huge effort to have it,
10,
meeting
yes.
last night to have it
Okay,
ready for us for this meeting in June.
And likely that was my error, that I just left a discussion and I didn't put action on there. So that was probably, when I worked up the agenda, I missed that.
So I think you actually have it covered, because it says support staff contract approved.
I
Does say
just wanted to
approval,
make
but-
clear.
okay, so we need to do discussion and approval?
Yeah.
Is that what it is, Adrian?
I mean, it would be great if we could at least, try, because
Okay.
I think to start the new year off with 2 approved contracts would be great.
Okay. All right, so that's number 10, and we'll change that. Okay, so now, do we have an approval of this agenda? Len approves. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll make a motion. Thank you, Ann.
Do we have a second? Liz, seconds. Okay. All in favor? I can't see Adrian. Sorry,
I think
lady,
it's
I'm
reasonable to
I'm
just turn that
changing you.
around. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is unanimous. All right, do we have public input and announcements? Do we have any public?
Yeah.
We have one public.
We have one public.
Any
No,
oppo-
we have two. We have Kim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we have Cheryl.
Cheryl.
That's right.
I'd like to be Kim.
You're right behind Stan, hiding perfectly.
I'm here to do something with, for Carrie for, after-school program.
Okay. All right.
I am public all the time, so.
Okay, so we didn't have anybody write in.
Nope, nothing, yeah.
All right, approval of minutes, but we have an amended from 6/1. There was changes. That is not the one I needed. No, it is the one I needed. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I
there was a couple, yes.
make it, just an edit thing? Under committee reports, personnel, there's a heading there that says changes in status. And number 7 says noted that 8 folks whose positions were RIF'd were all offered alternative positions. And the district, it says, is lucky. I'd like to change that to glad to be having 7 returned to the district rather than just sheer luck.
Oh, okay. I like lucky, though.
I just think it reads better.
Okay.
Number 4, I think there was on that same change in status that you're looking at, Len.
Yeah.
Number 4, to approve 4% salary increase for FY23, so adding that for FY23, making that clear.
Yep.
I'm going to keep reading there. For licensed administrators, Mr. Hill noted rationale following along with licensed teacher contracts, so adding one word, and perhaps 5% increase to follow along with support staff. So just adding a little more detail to that line. And then number 5% salary increase again for FY23 for bus drivers and non-union.
Yep.
So just adding a couple of details to that.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Keep forgetting to look for, okay. We don't have any student representatives, do we? Because they're all done.
Yeah, they graduated.
They're technically done with school. Chris did graduate last week, a week ago from tonight, which was great. We do have some junior members. They had been emailing me when they were unable to attend. I hadn't heard anything tonight, so no updates to report. We will still have some members returning next year, but we're trying to fill Chris's seat. And we've had some conversations already, and Kaylin Thompson, principal next year, is going to be working on trying to work with those students to identify a member to take that spot.
Okay.
We want to keep that going, because it's been a while and it's been good having them.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun hearing from them.
Yep.
I'll miss Chris's animated. Central office updates.
So if folks are comfortable with this, I was hoping that I could back clean up actually on central office updates. Normally superintendent would go first. I would like to go last, if that's okay. We've got some illness, we've got some other conflicts that popped up, so I have some reports I'm going to share on people's behalf. Cheryl, I know you're here to talk about after school. Do you mind jumping in first?
No, you're from here, it's okay?
Why don't you come a little closer to a mic here, maybe, like near Ann would probably work better if you're comfortable with that.
I have a big voice. So I'm Cheryl Maneri, and I'm the director of the after-school program here in Wallingford. And tonight I'm just going to give you a little update on what's happening in the summer after-school program for the district. So we are having a program at Clarendon Elementary School. All 4 elementary schools have combined, where the children will come from all 4 schools. We have registered between 60 and 70 students for each week, starting June 27th and ending July 29th. So there's 5 weeks of programming. We are happy to see that we have representation from all 5 schools for our staff. We have teachers and teaching assistants from Mill River, Clarendon, Wallingford, Shrewsbury, and Timoth. So we have a nice representation across the district of people that will be working with the kids. The details are down to the wire. We open in a week and a half, and things are going smoothly. I am mentoring Alice Coates-Martin, who is the director up in Shrewsbury. I've been mentoring her since February on how to set up the summer program, because that's when we start planning. Working with her each week, and she's doing really well. She will be the on-site everyday coordinator, and I will just be kind of helping her along each week, less and less each week, but to get her on her feet, because it's brand new for her. She's been the coordinator up in Shrewsbury for 2 years now, and she has a teacher education background, so she's a really great fit. Works really hard, so we're looking forward to a really good summer. We've got some great programs for kids, everything from some great literacy stuff to some science stuff to some sports and cooking, sewing, gardening. Going to do some biking and paddleboarding and kayaking and some really great things going on. So we are looking forward to having a great summer, and so far things are looking great. This is probably our 25th or 6th year of having a summer program, minus the COVID years. But so I think our district does a really great job of giving our families some really great places for their kids to come at affordable costs for the summer. So that's where we're at with that. And if your kids happen to be coming, that's great. And if you're out and about and want to see what's going on, stop by Clarendon Elementary School between 8:30 and 4 o'clock and see what we do. So if you have any questions, you can just email us, and we'll fill you in. Okay?
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Carrie passed on a sentiment that I absolutely agree with. Thank you to the teachers and paras who have enthusiastically accepted summer staffing positions. What we do for our kids over the summer is an incredible thing, and we're talking about people who are exhausted from a long school year coming back in a week to do that. So that's incredible that they're willing to do that. Kim came and gave us a sports update not too long ago, but I do want to give you a little more. Spring sports have completed, and I actually was able to sit down with Kim earlier this week, and we reflected on how did the elementary AD position work this year? How did elementary sports meet our students' needs? Where are places that we could do better? And we had a great conversation around how we can make some changes to that position moving into next year, so that we can coordinate better, we can communicate better, and we can potentially offer some more sports for our students there. Some specifics on that: it's being posted on School Spring. This is something that I was kind of surprised. It's a position that traditionally was a $1,500 position. So our elementary athletic director was really working a lot more out of passion than for anything else. We talked about if there was room in the athletics budget to do something a little better there, and we both agreed it would be worth trying to bump that up to $2,000. We talked about what coaches make and how many hours they put in, which is still probably not a lot for what they do, but that if we could line the elementary AD role up a little better with a higher paid coach, that we might be more successful. Kim also talked about working with Castleton University and their recreation admin program. So maybe finding a senior out there who needs some internship hours who could take this role on, and that would also fulfill some hours for them, so that they're getting more than just $2,000, which might seem small for some of the work we're hoping that they do. So good shifts for next year to try out, and if things don't go as expected, we'll look at other shifts so that we can continue trying to support our students there. Registration for fall 7-12 athletics and elementary athletics opened this past Monday. Hopefully you've seen some stuff maybe on Facebook about that popping up. High school's already got 41 students registered, elementary's already got 18. Community soccer started Sunday, the 12th, this past Sunday. It's open all summer long at Mill River, open to anyone, 11 to 1 p.m., so get the word out if you know folks who might be looking for opportunities. Ultimate Frisbee is doing pickup games on Thursdays and Sundays at 6 p.m., which is cool to see. Wrestling is doing open mat nights 2 times a month, too. And our football team, you've heard a little bit about them getting together and starting to practice. They're out there, they're getting to work, and we have a lot of kids involved and a new coach, which folks are excited about. So that's update from Kim. Questions on any of that? Okay. Rolling along, Stan, do you want to?
It's been a busy couple of weeks, and it'll be a busy couple more weeks. With the teachers settling their contract, we've been working on getting that all set for Friday's payroll. Things getting back to a little bit more normal things regarding audits. Our audit for this year started this week also. So hopefully we will be on a little bit more quicker schedule than the last couple of years where we've had to wait for the report until March until it's finally been completed. I did send out a report at our last finance meeting. I sent it out to all board members. I think that was around May 24th or 25th, so it's only been a few weeks since that report, and there's really nothing new to report regarding the finances. Those numbers still are holding up strong as far as us more than likely having an unanticipated surplus at the end of June 30th. I guess that's all I have to say in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I will sit down.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. More big work on the horizon as we try to finalize support staff contract. So, and this is already busy time of year trying to close the books on the year. So our folks are working hard in the business office. Gary, you heard a lot from him about the sorry, I'm blanking. I'm a little tired tonight. I'm not gonna lie. The foundations that's going to go into the old central office building. He gave a little bit more of an update to me tonight. So we are making the transition into summer, which is different work for those folks, where they do a lot of work trying to maintain during the year. They're going to do a lot of deeper work over the summer, clearing rooms out, doing floors, things like that. So we're moving into that summer mode. Yep, moving classroom materials out into the hallway, waxing floors. If you have never walked in our buildings the first day of school, do it, because those floors are fantastic looking. So it's nice to see that all come together.
2 days before, you swear to God, they never go in there 2 days before, you swear to God, they'd never get there.
Absolutely, and that's his next note here.
It's amazing what they do.
You think it's never going to get pulled off and come together, but then you walk in the first day of school, everything's back where it's supposed to be, those floors are waxed, and everything's good to go. So those folks who have been working hard through this pandemic, with all the new sanitizing routines and things like that, a lot of folks look at summer as a break. I know Cheryl knows it's not a break for everybody with after-school programs happening. Our custodial staff, it's not a break for them. It's just a change in work. So they're going to be working pretty hard this summer. They're looking at places, interior, exterior, where they maybe need to look at painting, things like that, later in the summer. No major projects, with the exception of that foundations building, which is a pretty good place to be. We've spent several years doing a lot of major projects, a lot of energy efficiency work, a lot of work that we got done with very little impact to taxpayers, which puts us in a good place. We're not a district who is looking at needing huge bond work to get a lot of building work done, which is good to know. So this summer we'll have some time to focus more on attractiveness of our buildings, making sure everything looks welcoming at the beginning of the year, which is great. No issues on the foundations building since last report. So that's where that stands.
Doors yet?
Don't know about doors specifically, but no major issues. So we're hopeful. Questions on any of that? Okay, Jody, do you want to jump in?
All right,
so first, today was the official last day for students, so congratulations to our educators and teaching staff and support staff who made it to today. It's a big holiday in the world of teachers, that final last kid day. Couple more days for teachers. We're just going to really work on wrapping up this school year. No new learning for teachers in the next couple days of June. So this school year, we focused a lot on the levers of MTSS in curriculum. MTSS is basically setting up a system to make sure that we're meeting every single kid's individual needs. And so some of those big foci were revamping our educational support team structures in all of our schools. So that's the system where if a student needs something else, whether it's extra social emotional support or extra tutoring, or they are really working ahead of grade level and need extra challenge, those students can be brought into that educational support team and have a whole team of educators talk about how we can set up systems to better meet their needs. So making sure that that system was running as efficiently as possible and as consistently as possible was a huge push this year. Our educators did a lot of work in PLCs this year on collective efficacy and designing interventions in the classroom and then sharing it out with their peers in PLCs. And I really want to recognize the hard work that goes into a year like this year to continue to push themselves to grow and then to share that out with colleagues. That was successful, and I'm really appreciative of everything our educators did in that respect. And a personal goal of mine was really to move forward with something called needs-based professional development. That means really listening to teachers when they say what they need to grow. So giving regular surveys, spending a lot of time talking informally to teachers, making sure that we are out in classrooms and not just hidden away in an office to start to get a better idea of how we can best serve them. Those were all goals this year. Over the summer, planning to work on emergency operations plans with all building principals. We're going to do some work on behavioral management systems, restorative practice work, when we really have time to dive deep into setting up like careful planning for that stuff. Lots of systems work at central office, just excited to have time to really dive into those details. And next year, just thinking about curricular goals, teachers in those surveys have said they really just want time coming out of COVID to come back together and focus together on making sure curriculum is coordinated. And so we're not going to do very much talking at teachers and release days next year. It's going to be almost entirely focused on letting them get together in their teams and work on the work they're saying they need to do. The only outside professional development we are currently planning on is one day for educators kindergarten through 6th grade with a Eureka math specialist, because we're using some grant funds to purchase more supportive pieces of the math program we're already using, and we want to make sure if we're giving teachers resources, we're also giving them the training on those resources. And we're looking at maybe some outside professional development for our leadership team for evaluation for growth, so how we can be better serving teachers when we go in for supervision and evaluation, to be talking about growth and be more supportive. We have been talking to both of those PD providers about requesting agendas that we're allowed to share publicly for anybody who has a question about that. So that's something in the works, but otherwise it's just going to be a lot of internal teacher time. For PLCs next year, elementary is going to focus on science of reading work, so really diving down into how we best teach our students to read, and the secondary folks are going to work on social, emotional, and advisory work. That's what I got, unless you have any questions.
I have a question.
Sir.
Could you tell me what, I was never a great math student, what is Eureka Math program involved?
Sure. So we have been using Eureka Math and Engage New York for the last 4?
I'd say more like 6.
Maybe 6 years.
If not 7 or 8. Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Long time in our schools, and that's a Common Core aligned math program, and that goes up through grade 8. Eureka Squared is the new program that they are offering that has some better support pieces for teachers. So it's the same curriculum, because we don't want to hand teachers new curriculum right now, but it provides student color workbooks, because right now teachers are having to make copies off this online program and then sort it out. So student color workbooks, homework color workbooks that are separate from the classwork ones, so kids can have, parents can know what the homework is, and it's a lot clearer working through those workbooks, and an online program that provides tier 2 supports. That means like if a student isn't understanding a concept, then there's online teaching programs and other games and other instruction that the teacher can assign to that student to try to give them different ways of learning it.
And in the past, we've had Eureka Math and something separate for extra support, extra practice, extra help. So having one that's the same program, I think, is awesome.
And then,
Is this grant funded, did you say, or is it?
yep, so we're funding that through the ESSA grant, and then through the CFP grant, the federal grants, we're funding manipulative kits that go along with the Eureka program, and that's like all of the hands-on pieces that if kids are just visual learners or just like to kind of put pieces physically together, that we can supplement with that too.
And something teachers asked for.
Yes. Yes. Again, they're the experts, so we're just really trying to listen to them. Any other questions? Thank you.
Jody. Poor Adrian's gonna get motion sick here.
Unless you turn your camera
We
off.
can't, I think she might have. We keep flipping her.
So I'm gonna share with you Coral's report, and then I'll jump into my report. So special education is another realm that, believe it or not, stays fairly busy over the summer. She's been working hard finalizing extended year services, which are actually legally required provisions that we have to offer to students on IEPs who are eligible. They don't have to participate, but it's something that we do have to offer. Historically, we do have a pretty good number of students who participate in those programs. We have incredible special educators who come in and work with those kids over the summer to provide those services, delivering reading, writing, and math services, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes small group, and they serve all of K-12. So any of our students who might be eligible for these services, K-12. The goal of that is to support students over summer, so when they come back in the fall, they're where they need to be to continue progressing on their IEPs. About 40 students throughout the district is what we'll be serving this summer. Another interesting thing in the special ed realm is software change, which is coming from our software vendor. We've gone through several of these before. Handful of years back, maybe about 7 years ago, we switched our student information system. Big shift, but we managed it. Business Office, 2 years ago, Stan? 2 years ago, the state mandated that we shifted our Business Office software to eFinance, and we made that shift. And I think hearing from other 3 years ago, hearing from other districts, we did a lot better. There was less grumbling and more just figuring it out, and we figured a lot of it out. There are some parts of that software that are quirky, but it all works well, we make it work. We make it work. So I'm confident we'll navigate this one too, but this is adding some stress and work to our special educators. They've had to print out all their IEPs just in case, because the vendor is going to take what's in the current software system and move it into a new system. So, of course, everybody's nervous. How's that going to go? Is that going to work? What are you going to lose? So we've printed off all our IEP materials. There's a blackout period, too, where we'll have nothing available. Well, the special ed world doesn't just stop. You know, we don't pause on all our IEPs and, oh, we'll come back in the fall. There are still things that have to be done, and we need to review that paperwork and timelines. So that's going to be a challenge, and we are going to be working through that and trying to support them with that. So that's the news from the special ed world. Questions on any of that? Yep, Paul?
That summer program that has 40 kids in it,
Yeah.
is that offered in one location or in every school?
That's a really good question. I think they're going to be serving most of it out of Clarendon, but I think in the past they've served it out of other schools too. Yeah, so depending on how many special educators you have, I think if there are Shrewsbury kids and we happen to have somebody available, at times we'll serve it out of different buildings. Yeah, I can check with Coral on that.
Okay. Brian, did they have
audit or something? I thought I remember
Yes.
talking about, it was a pretty big deal that was coming on.
Monitoring. We went through a monitoring phase. Those reports, I think, have just become available the last couple of days, and I've actually been on an email chain where they're having challenges with folks accessing it. The Vermont State, the Agency of Education doesn't do their own technology. All state departments rely on, and the name's going to escape me right now, but there's a state department that does technology for all the different departments. And they've instituted some changes in how people log in. So there have been some challenges logging in to get some of these documents and things like that. I would imagine that sometime over the summer, we'll get an update on how that monitoring went. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to mute you, Adrian. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of background noise.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see I was. I can do it.
Okay, you might be faster. Thank you. Okay. I'll start with this, because this is probably the most nitty-gritty detailed. I gave everyone a sheet here that lists our numbers in, and this was something that's been requested, so I told you I'd follow up with a little more detail here. If you look on the left-hand side, that's all elementary. And I've shown you by elementary school how many students we have in, and actually why they're in and where they're from. We do have a Ludlow Mount Holly elementary transfer agreement. Historically, we haven't had huge numbers there, but we always tend to have 3, 4, 5 kids in, 3, 4, 5 kids out, so that we have that agreement that we can, and I think the agreement even states that it's got to be equal numbers, so there's not a financial burden on one district or the other. We've had that agreement with Ludlow and Mount Holly for a while. They traditionally have exercised that at Wallingford more frequently. I think because of location, I think it makes a little more sense. Universal Pre-K is the program where pre-K kids can go anywhere. They just have to get transportation, and then any program can accept them. And when we talk to the state, dollars follow those kids, which is great. We have a fair number of universal pre-K kids accessing our programs. What I hear from Sarah Bolster is that next year we have, at one point in time, maybe a few weeks ago, she told me no kids out for universal pre-K. That may have changed, but for now, or at least at that point in time, we had no kids out. Historically, we've had a couple of kids out, absolutely, in different areas. We've had some folks accessing private pre-K too, under that program. Tuition is an interesting one at the elementary level. There are not many areas around us who actually can tuition elementary kids, because to be a tuition town, you have to have no school. So IRA would be a school that, a town that can send their students, and tuition dollars follow. Clarendon, I think, tends to be the school that we've had access that from IRA. We've got one of those kids now. In the past, we've had several. I think location, again, factors into that. And then I've shown you towns that those students are coming from. The Mount Holly ones, some of those are the elementary transfer, some of those are universal pre-K. Most of those numbers are universal pre-K.
Did we get any of, oh, never mind. Never mind, I jumped the gun on the next chart.
Questions on the elementary side? Okay, high school side, which I think is the far more interesting side too. We have 85 tuition students, and we have 7 school choice students. So we have 92 students. And I know I said high school. There could be some 7 or 8 students there, but really largely they're going to be 9-12. Because most of these tuition towns do offer a middle school. 92 students, which is a fairly large percentage of our student population, are coming into our district. Tuition is interesting because these towns that I've put an asterisk by, Chittenden, Danby, Ira, Ludlow, Middletown, Mount Holly, Mount Tabor, and Rutland Town, they don't have schools to serve these students. So when they send their students to us, tuition dollars follow. And that's 85 students. The school choice students are students like Castleton or Rutland City, where there is a high school. Those students can attend that high school, no problem. But when we as a board set our school choice numbers, we set how many students can come in and how many students can go out. We set those numbers because dollars don't follow those students.
Right.
So actually, if we had 20, 30, 40 school choice in students, we would not get dollars following them. If we had a bunch of students out school choice, we would not be sending dollars out following those students. We'll often have things that happen like for athletics, there may be a team at another school that we don't have, maybe hockey, where students will choose to go to a different high school to access that program. We also hear where we have students coming in district because of our arts program, things like that. So we'll trade students with regional high schools sometimes because we have strengths that draw students or other high schools have strengths that draw students too, if that makes sense. Questions on that?
What is the number that you guys have capped? How many can go out, how many can come in? I'm just wondering.
It's either 20 and 20 or it's 40 and 40. Do you remember, Stan?
Per year?
We set that every year. Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to know. I didn't know it.
20 and 20?
I can't remember what you did this.
Yeah.
Past years, it used to be, the cap was probably around 40 coming in and maybe 20 going out.
Okay. Okay. So something like that. I can check on that. And,
Yeah, because we
yep.
approved it as the board. I know
Yep.
we do that every year.
I just want to clarify with certain sports like hockey at Rutland requires that in order for students to access that program, that they access their education there. That's a requirement.
Sure.
That's a good point, because there's other schools that will allow students to participate without actually having to enroll there.
Exactly. In fact,
Fair enough.
I understand from Kim and Neri, our
Yeah.
athletic director, that we have a nice partnership with the MSJ.
Yes, yes,
Where
yes.
students go back and forth.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Other questions on high school numbers?
I got a question.
Yep.
On these 85 tuition students.
Yep.
They're paying tuition to come here, right?
The towns are sending dollars to us, yeah.
So, but they choose to come.
Yes, they could send
Okay.
those dollars
Do we
elsewhere.
set any sort of restrictions? For example, if a kid gets kicked out of a school and chooses to come to our school, do we say, yeah, we want you? Or do we say, well, you can come under these?
Good question. So if we look at a board policy on non-resident tuition students, students have to be in good academic standing, good behavioral standing, good attendance standing. Those are the three gates that they have to get through for us to accept them as a tuition student. That's tuition. So from one of these places that has an asterisk. For a non-resident high school choice student, so say Rutland High, if there's a student that is not doing well at Rutland High and says, hey, I want to come to Mill River, there's a timeline for that. They would have to apply for school choice, they would have to meet a deadline, and they would have to be enrolled at Mill River. That couldn't happen, a week ago or a month ago even. They would have to have materials in at some point in time this spring for next year. So that's the sort of thing that...
Doesn't happen overnight.
What's that?
It doesn't happen overnight.
No. Does that answer the question?
There's a lot of paper, not a lot, but there is paperwork that they have to complete.
Yep.
And the timeline, I think it's April.
Yeah.
And
So they can't
That's
mid-year decide they're going to access choice necessarily.
Right.
There have been scenarios in the past, though, where superintendent make an agreement and accept a student, but I'd say that's the exception, absolutely not the rule.
Yep.
Does that clarify?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
the bad seeds
Sure.
into our school because we want the money.
Sure. Other questions? I'll add a little more pre-K information from Sarah Bolster. She has been working hard as pre-K coordinator this year. We advertised pre-K registration in the Rutland Herald and in townwide monthly newsletters, front porch forums, and posters hung throughout the district. That's something I'm not aware that we've done coordinated in a while. It may be something that individual schools have done, but we have not done that in a coordinated way, which is great. The registration days were hosted at schools where families came to visit the classroom, meet the teacher, learn about the program, and do their enrollment paperwork, which I think is great, because the more pre-K kids we get accessing education, the better off they're going to be coming into kindergarten, and the more we keep in our programs, I think the more we keep in our schools, which is great. They do vision screenings and hearing screenings so that before these kids even get into pre-K, we start to have a sense of how we can support them, which is important. And forming relationships with families even before their kids are in our schools, I think is very useful. That's a good thing for us to be doing. So kudos to Sarah for doing that. Our pre-K enrollment is up. From this current year to next year. Clarendon's moving from 25 to 29. Shrewsbury's going from 11 to 16. Tinmouth is going from 11 to 13. Wallingford is actually flat at 20. Pulling in those universal pre-K students is great. That allows us to have robust programs because we've got enough kids to run those programs and dollars follow those kids, which is great. And you may have scenarios where folks go, gosh, I want to think about moving in district. Or, gosh, if I'm in Ludlow, Mount Holly area, I could access a program to keep my kid at Wallingford if they're in pre-K at Wallingford. So I think UPK, Universal Pre-K, is a good opportunity for us to connect with families and build those relationships. Questions?
Anecdotally, I know 3 families that moved to Tinmouth.
Yeah.
And it's when a house comes up, they try to get, we know 5 other families that are trying to move into the Tinmouth area just so that they can put their kids into the school. So,
right on.
We don't have enough houses to sell.
Right on. We
start building, Josh.
We definitely, we have work to do in areas of growth, but it's good to hear that some folks are looking at us. It's good to hear that. So to continue my report, gosh, it's been a year. Holy cow. I never could have imagined the last 5 months. I never could have. And I sent a note to teachers and staff today, and I'm going to share something with you tonight. I'm going to send a note to the community Friday. I could not have done any of the work that I did these past 5 months without your support. I know it's been an interesting number of months, but I feel supported. I feel that we've done some good work, and to be down a superintendent and to cover it in-house, it's not what I did. It's the support that I had and the people pitching in, so I thank the board for that. I thank our central office team for that. I thanked our teachers and our staff for that today, and I want to thank the community for that too. If we're working together, we'll do good work. There are things that this spring we did not do as well as we should have or could have. And my commitment is, when we're fully staffed, to do better next year. But I say thank you. We've wrapped up some of the year. Students went home today, and I've been joking they're not supposed to come back until much later. So we've got some time to do that work, but there are still some housekeeping things. A lot of the tech role that I do, there's a lot of end-of-year reporting, state reports, business office stuff, things that will have our hands tied up. And I've been really honestly pushing off until students are gone so that I can do that work. Because there was other more important work to do while students were here. So I will be a little busy with doing that. Summer work is going to be exciting. We're having some good conversations around what that work is going to be and what that looks like. Something we've never done before that I'm aware of in the 10 years I've been here. Our leadership team retreat is usually in the end of the summer. We're going to meet one day Friday and do half of our retreat Friday so that we can wrap our heads around how did the end of this year go and where do we need to go next year, instead of waiting till the end of the summer to say, where do we need to go next year? Things happen in the summer sometimes through nobody's fault, and I think there'll be more continuity with spending that whole day with the leadership team Friday, because we have a lot of summer work to do. We're going to be looking at organizational charts. We're going to be looking at clarifying roles and responsibilities. We're going to be looking at admin supervision and evaluation. Jody talked about admin getting better at supervising staff in a way that helps them grow. We, as a admin team, are going to be looking at how do we supervise, evaluate our principals in a way that helps them grow. And there's clarity to what that looks like, and we can share with you very clearly how things are going down the road. Strategic planning is on the agenda, and I think that's incredible important work that we're going to have to start thinking about what that looks like kicking off in July. And I'm excited about pulling community in and getting input from as many stakeholders as we can to drive that process. If we work together, we'll do good things. Doesn't have to be a grand plan to do anything crazy, but if we work together, we'll do the little things right, and that'll matter for next year, to focus on that. So I'm excited about strategic planning. I think transportation is a piece that we're going to have to weave into that. We have to work with caregivers, families, and figure out how we can find the best possible system. With fewer resources, how do we serve the most needs, and how do we do it in a way that works with caregivers? We've tried a couple of different models, and at the end of this year, we've had a dry run of what a different model would look like. We can get some pretty good feedback from families right now about how did that work for you. And I think we can use that, we can capitalize on that and plan from that. So the silver lining for me, I know these last 5 days of school have been a challenge for a lot of families. Silver lining is we tried it, we know the pros and cons now. So we can sit down, we can talk about them, we can come up with an even better plan. Better than coming up with a plan for next year and trying it for a year and being stuck with it. We got to test something out for 5 days. So we can do some work this summer getting input, and we can do some work to try and figure out what does that look like. Let me be 100% clear. Next year we have all our drivers coming back.
Yay.
Next year we have all our drivers coming back.
Yay.
But I don't want to wait until we don't have all our drivers coming back to have a plan. We tried a contingency plan for 5 days. Let's figure out a better contingency plan for when it happens for 2 months or when it happens for 6 months. So I think that's important summer work to get community input on, if that makes sense. Schools. Yep.
Back in January, February, the Personnel Committee was talking about exit interviews for people leaving. And at that point, we asked about perhaps having the staff have a survey of the staff. How did the year go?
Yep.
What were the problems? What were the things we could work on? And I was for doing it with the Personnel Committee, and the board decided no, the principals would do that because they want that same information. So my question is, did that happen?
We've been working with personnel, and we've been working with community engagement to figure out if there's a professional survey we can access so that we're not making up questions and who knows if they're good questions or not. So we have written into our ESSER grant to pay for a professional survey where we can get valid, reliable results back and try and tease those questions out. Does that make sense? So that we don't have a scenario where Wallingford teachers are being asked certain questions about how their year went, but then Clarendon teachers are asked something different, and we can't really compare notes. Does that make sense?
It does sort of, but the schools are different.
Yeah.
So there would be different questions I would ask high school teachers than I would the elementary teachers, because it's totally different.
I think.
But the bottom line, it didn't happen this year.
Well, I did not believe that we decided we were doing something at the end of this year. If that was decided, I'm sorry, I dropped the ball on that. I didn't know we had decided to do that end of this year. I thought we were planning for next year, because to put something in place like that, to get the funding and line up the survey. So I apologize if that's something we did decide.
Sorry. We did, so I wonder if this bridges it. We did do surveys to staff through the curricular weekly email in January and again the last 2 weeks. And so if the committee would like me to come attend and share that information that teachers district-wide shared, I'm more than happy to share that.
I just want to know if you're getting good feedback from, I'm getting feedback from staff, faculty, and what they would like to do. And I'm just wondering if you're getting that same feedback.
So we sent a survey asking about a variety of different things that we did this year to get their feedback. And so I am happy to share that feedback with the committee and talk about what we're doing with it.
Maybe, now I'll just throw this out. As we're in a position where we shouldn't have to be looking at a lot of contracts, we seem to be in a, and I'm speaking from the Personnel Committee perspective, I think it would be great, Jody, if you could come in, you know, and I'll see where we're going with it, but maybe early August or early September, when we're pretty well buttoned up and school's ready, it might be a good time for you to come in and share that information with us. I think it'd be helpful.
And that is curriculum-specific information that I think is great stuff to hear.
Yep.
We do have grant funding secured, and we do still have a plan for next year to have a comprehensive survey that goes out to caregivers, goes to students, goes to staff, so that we can get that broad picture from everybody. And if I'm not an expert or comfortable in writing those questions myself, I think there are folks who spend lots of time studying that as their discipline, and I would rather go with a company that has written surveys that are widely used and has a strong reputation. You know, I could write a survey to get you certain results. You don't want my survey that gets you certain results. You want a third-party survey that we're all going to be able to look at, and we know that nobody's trying to mislead anybody, if that makes sense. That's my goal.
And my recollection too is part of the incentive or impetus to go with that third-party vendor was to have them also co-organize, interpret the data so that, you know.
It could be a full-time job if somebody were to give that survey twice a year and try to actually come up with stuff from it, if we're going with that wide of an audience.
Right. Well, there had been community expression that would be more comfortable for folks, so that, you know, there wasn't implicit bias.
Last thing I'll throw on here, school safety is something, I know Doug, you brought this up 2 weeks ago. We're looking at, I know Jody said there are only 2 people we're looking at partnering with next year for professional development. There might be a third, because we are looking at some school safety pieces. We know we need to do that work, so that's something we've even talked about, trying to address the first day back for teachers and staff and do something on that day. If we're able to pull that off, again, we will do the best we can to work with that partner and get permission to share publicly, because I think that's important to have. So that's work. We got a lot this summer, but it's exciting work. And again, I just say thank you for your support. Without your support, we could not be doing the work that we're doing. We're not perfect. We want feedback and we want to get better. We appreciate that. So thank you.
Brian?
What questions do you have about any of that? Okay. That's central office reports.
Future agenda stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so Wallingford board member to fill BJ's vacant position. Wallingford had their town meeting the beginning of this month.
Select board meeting.
Select board meeting, there you go, it's the same thing. Select board meeting, and they sent an email out the next day saying that they will back Nick Flanders as the filling the vacant position. Now, we had 2 for the position. In the midst of, in the next day, the other individual backed off and said that they would not be interested in doing the position. So, congratulations, Nick. You are filling the seat till March.
Should we motion and all that stuff?
I guess we
do.
Even though there's one, we do have to make a motion for Nick to fill the position.
I'll make that motion.
And do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
All. And all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
It's unanimous. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting Adrian. It's on the computer. It's unanimous. So, welcome, Nick.
Welcome.
Yeah. Come sit.
Come sit up here.
You can, yeah, come on up and sit next to Josh. We will have a nameplate for you next time. So now we are a full board again. All right, next is, Adrian, do you want to take this as support staff contract discussion and approval? Do you want to talk about that? Because you're more involved in it?
I mean, I think we should. I mean, I don't know how easy it is for me to run any kind of conversation. I guess I just want to let everybody know that they have the contract. It was approved by the association yesterday. And I think we can poll the negotiation committee, but I think that we were all in favor of what we negotiated. And we would ask the full board to approve it so we go into the next school year with all of our staff, all of our association staff covered by a valid and up-to-date contract.
Okay, and it's been
ratified by the association.
Okay, and it's been sent to us, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I reviewed it.
I know I saw it. So do we have any discussion on it? Did anybody want to talk about anything with it?
You just go ahead and read it. We did.
So I think if folks have not had a chance to review and would like a chance to review, I wonder if it's worth thinking about, do we schedule a special meeting with the only purpose of that meeting be to adopt the contract? That's something that I believe, are still under provisions with the state that we could do a fully virtual meeting. And we could do that, still allow the public. We could do hybrid back at the high school too, if folks wanted that. But I would say, to support our folks, let's try and do it sooner rather than later. So how the board decides to do that and when the board decides to do that is up to the board. But that would be my recommendation, sooner rather than later.
I think that's a great idea, Brian.
I think we need to discuss it.
Whoa.
Not just,
Yeah.
not just vote.
Do we want to schedule a special to do a discussion? That way everybody has time to review everything? We can do it virtual. I'm just looking at probably in the next 2 weeks because we don't have much going on for the end of June, huh?
Yeah, when?
And then that way we're not running into July stuff and we can get it done. How about Mondays? Who has a problem with Mondays?
It depends on what time.
Depends on what time.
6?
Oh, AM?
No, I'm up at 6 a.m., but
Is there any reason we couldn't do it Saturday morning, this Saturday morning?
I work.
Okay.
Yeah, and I couldn't be available.
Monday's
Saturday
fine.
morning.
Okay.
So if we did, what's today, the 15th, if we do Monday, the 20th at 6 o'clock and do it strictly virtual?
Monday the
I can't
20th,
do it.
6.
Do you have a time that you can, or is Monday completely out?
I have something that will take me out from 5 o'clock until probably 7:30.
Okay, Tuesday?
Tuesday's okay.
Do we have who's got Tuesday? Anybody have anything on Tuesdays?
If you're talking the 21st, I would not be available, and I'm absolutely comfortable with the board doing that without me, but I want you to know that in case you have questions of me. We're going camping Tuesday.
Yay.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Well, if Monday the 21st is the first available date, why don't we just go
Well,
for
Monday the
it?
20th, yeah. Are you okay, Paul, with, can you, email me if you have stuff? Do you want to do that?
I just can't be available
Okay.
late in the afternoon till probably realistically about 8 o'clock.
You're on the finance committee, right? Not negotiation.
I am on the finance.
Yes, you see.
Yeah.
All right, let's do Monday at 6th via virtual. Can you just email me your concerns after you read it and stuff, and that way we have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't want you to be left out, Paul.
Could Paul email clarifying questions he might have to Adrian, who is the...
Well, I'll do me and Adrian.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that way we have your input. Okay. Are you okay with that, Adrian? He emails you? All right. I got a thumbs up. Okay. So...
Hey, we'll get that going. We'll get that set up.
Yes. All right, and then we'll have time for discussion and everything then. Okay. So next, I'm gonna put this in, renewal of the food service contract for FY23. That you, Stan?
Wait.
Wait.
Or is tax anticipation notice?
Yep.
Did I give you an old agenda?
I have no idea. Hold on. Well, you haven't corrected me yet, so
Yeah,
I'm
tax
figuring.
and-
Okay, never mind. Tax anticipation note.
Number 11.
Yes.
Okay.
Before I start, I'll be using the name of the bank is M&M. This is even hard for me to say, M&T Bank. They are a bank that bought out People's United. They will be officially M&T Bank in September, when everything changes over. So this tax anticipation note is with M&T Bank. For new board members, what a tax anticipation note is a line of credit that we access between the beginning of the school year and the time we start collecting the tax revenue from the towns. And the towns usually sending us their taxes early November. So it's kind of a buffer for us to pay our payroll and our operating expenses until we collect our tax revenues for the year. Normally in the past, we've done a tax anticipation note line of credit for a year. We're going to try something a little bit different this year where it's only going to be for 6 months. So the note will come due at the end of December. We'll see if we can save some money on the interest. And I've scheduled a meeting with the bank in March. We'll review our cash flow situation to see if there's any need to do anything for the remaining 3 months of the year or 4 months of the year. The issue comes up is with the town of Wallingford and Timoth. They usually send a second payment to us the second half of the year. Wallingford sends it to us the first week of May, so sometimes depending on how the year goes, there could be a cash flow crunch. We haven't had that issue the last few years, so we're going to try doing the line of credit for 6 months and then review the cash flow situation in March. So this tax anticipation note line of credit is for $3.2 million. It's at a fixed rate of 2.5%. And again, it begins July 1st and it ends December 30th, 2022. What I need for the board is a motion to adopt a resolution on behalf of the Mill River Unified Union School District to borrow on a line of credit the sum of $3.2 million from M&T Bank, dated as of July 1st, 2022, and payable on the 30th day of December 2022, with interest at a rate of 2.5%. And a further resolution to authorize the district treasurer, which is Denise Patch, and the business manager, which is myself, to have the authority to request advances under the line of credit, and that would be our only authority in regards to the line of credit would be to request advances during that time frame.
Just a question, Stan. You know, as I'm familiar with line of credit, you know, because we use it the same way, and it's an ongoing thing. And when you're using the money, you're paying interest. When you don't need the money, you return it to the bank, and you're not paying any interest. Right. Why would this be any different in terms of?
It isn't. The date ends. We could, and more than likely, and there is no prepayment penalty, so we could pay it in November.
Yeah.
More than likely pay it in November, since there would really be no need to wait another month.
Right. I'm just curious about the, 6 months or a year, or, what we use in our business is ongoing as long as we have a good relationship with the bank.
Yeah.
That is in place, and we have to give them financials and so forth to support it, but we use it when we need it, and when we don't, we're paying it back to the bank, paying it down to zero, paying no interest at that point. This just sounds different to me.
It is a little bit different. Like, say if we borrowed $2 million in August, and then come November, we paid that $2 million back, right. Our line of credit, in theory, would only be now $1.2 million for the rest of the year. And for some reason, the last couple of years, the banks seem to be getting a little stricter for some reason with school districts, and allow, in regards to the length of the tax anticipation note. In the past, it's never been an issue with the year request. Last year was the first year they came back to me and asked me, why do you do a year? Can't we cut this down to 6 months? They let it go.
It sounds more like a time note than a line of credit.
Right.
To me,
because I have to submit a cash flow statement, and so when they look at our cash flow statement, if everything comes in to play the way I put it on that cash flow statement, they're looking at the second half of the year, stating you don't really need that line of credit for that second half of the year. So we really strongly suggest, and this year they strongly suggested, that it ends December 31st.
Okay.
With the option that we could revisit it in March. We'll revisit.
Well, they know interest rates are moving, so.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it too. I mean.
I
Adrian
would think that
has her hand up.
Actually, I mean, the interest rate rising is what I was going to ask my question about, and just whether or not that impacts our decision. But if the bank isn't offering us more than 6 months, then I guess that's not sort of moot.
Well, we could, I did express reservations about doing that, and they said that they could go back and do it as a 1-year note. The interest rate would be higher. 2.5 they're offering right now.
What's the difference? Yeah.
I feel like, based on the fact that we still have a decent surplus, it should not be an issue this year.
Yeah, what you're getting is a fixed rate.
Right.
And like the line of credit that I use, I'm subject to rate increases based on what the Fed does.
Right.
So, yeah, I get it.
They would do it that way.
Yeah, I get it.
Nick has a question.
We've got a similar question to Paul, but I'm guessing they're basing it on the last 2 years, which has been COVID years. Thankfully, the governor has given us allowances for food credits, which happens to play into us having to advance monies and not have monies. I believe that's been advanced again for the coming school year, right?
For school meals are covered for the school year, yes.
So it won't have that liability either, so 6 months might not be that bad, and it's a good rate.
Right. What was the rate last year? Just
I want to say 1.5.
Did we do a year?
We did.
Or did we do
only,
6 months?
We accessed $1 million for the year. The interest on that, actually, it's in the pay orders, is $12,500. So
Okay.
it was basically 1.25% for the year on that $1 million.
So my question is, we get it for 6 months. Say we access a portion.
More than likely.
What are we going to do in the next 6 months? Are we still going to ask to access the same amount the 1.3?
No, for the first 6 months, we'll more than likely, we'll probably, if everything, with tuition students, we hit our target with that budget-wise, and we don't have anything unusual happen, we'll probably access between $1 million and $1.5 million of that, of those funds.
So then, and we're pretty good next year anyway.
Yeah, this upcoming year with the surplus, we'll be still fine. The following year, obviously, we would have to revisit that situation again.
Yep. Okay.
If that surplus goes down.
My only other question is there, do you look at other banks for different rates? Is that a thing that happens every year or at any point in time, especially since the bank's getting bought out?
We can because, we can, but it always comes with an attachment that we do our business with that bank. So I think every year you as a board designates people.
Reorganization, we do that.
As the bank of the school district. So there's, and when I first became a business manager, I was kind of I would put it out to bid even though there was no chance we'd ever go with these other banks just to keep people's from trying to, rake us over the hole, so to speak. But I've developed enough of a relationship that, I trust them. They're probably giving us the best rate they can.
So Stan had made a motion. Can you repeat that motion?
Or do you have it in writing to hand us, or do you want to read one at a time and we'll move it, right?
Because
magical words,
in
so moved.
discussion, totally forgot what your motion
I had to look at it last year, how we did it, and we did it as one motion with an and.
Oh, we did? Okay.
But I forgot what you said.
Yes, I'll have to, okay. So the board's motion is to adopt a resolution on behalf of the Mill River Unified Union School District to borrow on a line of credit up to a sum of $3.2 million from M&T Bank. The line of credit is dated July 1st, 2022, and payable on the 30th day of December 2022, with interest at a rate of 2.5% annually.
So moved. Are we doing one at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably break them up.
Okay.
So
All in favor? Because Liz second.
Well, somebody needs to make a motion here.
I moved it.
A board
Somebody
member
second
needs
it.
to. Yeah, Liz did.
Yep.
Okay.
Want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. So moved by Liz, seconded by Paul. Thank you, Paul.
All in favor? I was gonna say, I keep having to check. Okay. We're all unanimous. All right.
Make a motion. Further resolution, the board names the following: the district treasurer, Denise Patch, and the business manager, Stanley Polasic, be given the authority to request advances under the line of credit and only to do advances under the line of credit and have no other authority.
So moved.
Second?
Sure.
All in favor? Okay. Unanimous. Thank you, Stan.
Thanks.
All right, so the next agenda item was elementary sports opportunities, and that was Matt.
Something he wanted to share.
You sort of touched on it earlier. My concern is, sports are such an important thing. We talk about childhood obesity, we talk about kids with electronics, and not having any substantial school-sponsored sports activities until I believe the 4th or 5th grade, I feel like isn't doing the kids a whole lot of good. By the time you get to that point, maybe they want to play, maybe they don't want to play, I don't know. That and some of the area club opportunities have become cost prohibitive for some families.
Absolutely.
For example, I'll use myself as an example. I was looking into signing my preschooler up for T-ball in the fall, and it's going to cost $65. Now, thankfully, I'm in a position where I can afford that, but there may be some families that can't. And You know, that's just one example. Everything basically is club sports that cost the families money. And I didn't know if there was any opportunities for the district to look into offering sports at a younger age than 4th or 5th grade.
And I think we don't necessarily offer softball or baseball any elementary level, I think. We used to.
I played in 4th.
I was gonna say, when my son, who is now going into 3rd grade, was in preschool or maybe kindergarten, it was before COVID.
Okay.
Clarendon had a baseball program back then. 'Cause
My
actually,
son
I actually coached it one year.
Okay, right on, right on.
Yep. My son played when he was in 3rd grade. Joe Clarendon.
So I spoke with Kim specifically about what would we have to do to have baseball or softball elementary level. And I mentioned the raise-in rates, and maybe that's an opportunity for us. If folks are looking for something and they can't afford what's offered in the area, you know, what can we do? She seemed to think that we could reasonably make something happen next year if there's interest with existing budget. So if we wanted more to happen, we would have to think about, as we go into the fall, as we're having these conversations, as we're trying to be a little more proactive with budgeting, you know, what are the funds we would love to have for the fields? To get our fields in the shape that we really want our fields. How much is that going to cost? Is that going to be $20,000, $30,000? Let's see how the community feels about that. If we really wanted to offer 5 more elementary sports, let's say, what would that cost? And how do we get that out to the community? How do we see if there's interest? And how do we build that into a budget for the next year so that folks going into town meeting day know that that's part of the budget and why there's a certain amount of increase? We had some good finance meeting conversations around that kind of style of budgeting too, which I think is a reasonable way to look at next year. The main piece is uniforms and coaches. And we were discussing earlier, coaches actually aren't that large of an expense, believe it or not. The uniforms might be a bigger expense, but that's maybe. That's not a every year expense either, though. We can buy uniforms and we can get by for a couple of years most likely. So this year, if we wanted to do something new to pick up where regional prices are getting a little too high, we could likely pull that off. So I think that's good. A good thing to recognize that's an opportunity for us. Absolutely.
I have a question. I think at one point we had talked about partnering with our town recreation committees. Did anything come of that?
I have no idea. I don't know. When was that discussed?
I don't remember. Does anybody else remember that?
And Adrian had something too, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had talked about, because it was I think it was, if it wasn't funding, it was capacity, so I think we talked about,
just
again,
having enough coaches? Or having enough kids?
Yeah, enough kids.
It's all of it,
I think.
right? It's utilizing all of the not siloing our resources, you know, school district, town, but using them together to see how we might fill capacity needs. And, you know, maybe Wallingford doesn't have enough people interested, but with Clarendon, they do. I don't know.
I'm familiar with, when I lived in Rutland City, I was a basketball coach, okay, for 4th and 5th, mixed. And the way that it worked there was that the city's recreation department kind of organized the thing, but it was based on schools.
Okay.
And of course, there were more elementary schools. This is 30 years ago. So, you know, I was at Dana School when there was a Dana School. And our kids were from Dana, and we used the facilities there. We used the gym. I had access to the gym, and I worked for a salary of $0. Which we all did. It worked good, but that's Rutland City and a lot more.
You get more bodies.
Yeah. I will definitely follow up with Kim. Sorry, Adrian has something and we keep skipping over. I'll follow up with Kim about partnering.
I'm not really there.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Her hands.
I just wanted to say that it, you know, in years past, the Little League was through Little League. I mean, that is an actual national organization, and that's where most of the school programs were. I don't believe any of, I mean, maybe the other schools did, but I know Clarendon, when my kids were played in the Little League. You know, that's how the schools played against each other. It wasn't a school-based program, although it was housed at school.
Okay.
And in terms of uniforms, we just had T-shirts. I mean,
Yeah, which was
a big deal.
made
Second
by
graders and
Mitchell's.
first graders do not need a uniform that gets passed down every year.
Yeah, and even basketball.
You just get them a new T-shirt, and they get it to keep it, and that's pretty exciting.
Oh, fair enough.
I'd be a little concerned on making sure before we get too far into this that we have enough people to form enough teams and to have somebody to play against.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe the schools could put together something that plays against Wallingford Rec, but I mean, there is a very organized group, or there used to be in Rutland County, that was Little League based. And I hate to take that away and say, hey, we're going to do it at the school and ruin those programs.
And I think the first
They don't exist anymore.
The first step would have to be outreach to our communities and say, hey, how many folks would be interested if we did do this? So.
Well, and I think that, you know, all of this goes with, you know, maybe meeting with Kim again and then getting our elementary school AD, because that's a good job description right there for them, you know, like this, needs to.
Some of that can piggyback on what Liz said too, that we can coordinate with our local rec. They already have some of this as stepping stones.
Yeah, they have a lot of the background and the knowledge of it.
The other thing that I would just add that is the point of, especially at that young age, like what are you trying to facilitate with that sport? So is there a not necessarily traditional sport that you can play at lower numbers? Like,
oh, that's a good thought.
Even
if
it's like, I don't know, you know, if people are familiar with it, like in Tinmouth, they play pickleball like 3 times a week in the community center. So all the equipment's already there, and it's like, if you're trying to learn hand-eye coordination and trying to move around, that's a 2-on-2 game that could be a league that exists in our schools. Like even in our school district, we have enough kids that can play that. So are there other games or sports that are going to improve hand-eye coordination, going to get kids moving out that don't need 10 on a side, you know?
That's a great thought.
To Matt's initial, can we get more kids engaged in outside and sports and activities before they reach 5th grade? Because by that point, they're ingrained in, I'll just sit in front of the TV.
Yeah, that's the big thing,
Or they're all holds bar into, I'm at hockey 7 days a week and traveling throughout the whole state, you know, like, there needs to be the gradual. Because I think what we're missing now is the gradual.
And I think seeing something like those ultimate Frisbee pickup games, that kind of thing, that pulls more students in that maybe don't participate in other sports. So trying to do that elementary level, being a little more creative, I think is cool.
Don't forget your after-school programs offer things also.
Right, I was going to say, Cheryl's here.
We would be very willing to partner with Kim and whoever and build some of our programs and resources and people, and we do offer some of those things to younger kids and things now, but you know, we can sponsor teams, you know, so it doesn't have to be that you come to after school for childcare. You might be coming to after school twice a week for 1st and 2nd grade basketball clinic, you know, kind of thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're playing competitive teams. You're learning skills in a clinic and having a great time. We did a middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade basketball skills workshop in March, April, and May at Mill River through our BOUS grant, which was highly, just, they had a great time and they learned so much and progressed so much. That's going to help feed the programs at Mill River next year, and we hope to do it again. So, you know, partnering with the town, the after-school programs, the school programs, the more we can do that, you know, and we're very willing to, and pooling resources, you know, it's just a matter of getting the people to come to be able to do it. The kids are there. It's like you just have to have the leaders to do it, right? And that sometimes is the glitch. But you know, so you know, keeping in mind that we are a resource too for things like that for kids, and you know, it might be a positive thing for us all to work together.
Awesome.
And it-
There's an opportunity, yeah.
It might be, again, so I'm so glad that we're going to be working more closely with Castleton's athletic program, their sports
Maybe,
program.
maybe.
I mean, there's a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I think partnering with the community is a fantastic way to approach things like this. If we're trying to solve them on our own, we don't have the resources that everybody has. Yeah, especially as we're seeing declining enrollment, we don't have the resources that we've historically had. So I appreciate the opportunity being brought up, knowing that costs are rising regionally.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And BJ would be thrilled that we're having this
Yes, he
conversation
would.
too, right?
Stan, you're up again for oil costs.
Oh, yeah.
This got put on the agenda last minute. I did not think I'd have something to present to you, but our propane supplier surprised me with a decent price that I think it's worth bringing it to you to decide whether or not you want to go into a contract with them. We did not, this is not, propane is not bidded out to other suppliers in the area. The reason for that is we did do when we did our energy project for the schools, we did a bid then. Irving won that bid, and they installed all the tanks, the underground tanks, at their cost, provided they got the contract. I mean, we could get out of it, but we would have to pay for the tanks if we wanted to start bidding it out and picking up another supplier other than Irving. They came back with me today with two options that we have for FY23. The first option is a fixed propane price from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 for 1.816 a gallon. Option 2, again, is fixed propane from September 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023 for $1.768 a gallon. Now, I talked with Gary today in regards to what option might be best for the district, to get his opinion on it, and he recommends that the option 2 would fit our heating season needs perfectly, and that there would be no need to pay the extra 5 cents a gallon just to have, the months of July and August and June in that contract year. What he's already done for, this year, our price is $1.46 a gallon. He's reached out to Irving and told them to come in before the end of June 30th and top off all the tanks. So we'll have full tanks at Wallingford, at all the schools, whether it's just to heat the kitchen or actually their main source of heating will be at a full capacity at July 1st. So there would be no problem going to September without having any deliveries. So as I said, the recommendation from Gary and myself would be to accept option 2, the option 2 contract from September 1st to May 31st for $1.768 a gallon. The contract offer also includes a discount offer to employees that I'll send out to the employees in an email if the contract is accepted. The discount would be 10 cents off the residential price for fuel or 15 cents off the posted price for propane if employees wanted to access that.
Is there a
Are
finite
we
amount
employees?
there that?
I'm sorry, good question. We have a contract for 25,000 gallons.
Crazy.
Hold on, Adrian.
The average for the last 3 years, according to Gary, has been around 26,000 gallons. You kind of want to play it close to the vest because they do, depending upon which way the price goes, do force you to buy those gallons or pay a penalty on those gallons if you don't use them all under the contract.
So you're trying
Adrian
to come
wants
up
to
a
know if
little-
she calculates
a little
as
short
an
of what you're
employee.
actually.
Right. So we keep it at around 25,000 gallons.
She said it with a laugh.
I did, but
Is there
because I think it's funny.
an idea on how much the new one's going to cost out at the office by the elementary school, Clarendon?
How much is the what?
The new space in Clarendon is
Yeah.
going to be running under propane instead of fuel
Correct.
this year,
So that would be included in the contract.
including the tank and all that.
Yep.
Shouldn't need that big a tank. 1,000 underground, probably more than that one place needs.
Yeah, it won't be anywhere near the Clarendon Elementary School and here at the high school in Wallingford. So,
Are you making?
So I suggest that, again, the board to make a motion to accept option 2 and enter into a contract with Irving Oil for the period of September 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023 for $1.768 a gallon.
So moved.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to
No, I was
second
going
her.
to say budget-wise, we budgeted $70,000 for propane. That will bring in, if we hit 25,000 gallons, it'll be around $44,000. So we would come under budget by about $26,000 for propane because we are going to need it for the number 2 fuel oil.
I second Liz. So, all in favor of the second option? All right, and we're unanimous on that?
I don't have anything for number 2 fuel heating oil, but I did reach out to our current supplier, Bill Heffernan of Central Vermont, Plumbing and Heating out of Middlebury. They've been our supplier for probably the last 5 or 6 years. Just to get his feel as to where prices, if he has any idea where they are right now and where they may be in the future. He said, based on if we went out and did something right now, based on the futures market in December, our price range for number fuel heating oil would be between $4.20 and $4.35 a gallon. And to compare that, if you went and bought and told him to come fill up the tank today, he would charge us $4.85. In the past, he's done a cap price for us, and he's the only one that has ever offered us a cap price, and we've saved over the years by well over $100,000 by him allowing us this option of a cap price where, he sets the price at, like, say, $3, but if the market is at $2.70, we get it at $2.70. He says, based on the world situation, there's no way you can do that this year. And the price would be what it will be agreed to this time, for at least this year. So I guess I'm just trying to get the feel of the board. He had no recommendation as to where this is going to go. He said all it takes is one more thing to happen in the world and the price could spike. But, so there's really no, it's how much you really want to gamble, I guess. If you want to wait, we can wait. Or we could, go ahead with a bid. We don't have to accept the bid, obviously. And, maybe even discuss it at the next meeting. I mean, I could do a bid for the next meeting.
When has it historically, when have you put the bid in?
Usually, we would have this wrapped up either at the first meeting of June or the second meeting of June. I've been kind of waiting and putting things off, and, I just got around to really calling people just to see where everything was. I was surprised with the propane that it was a reasonable price to get in at. Fuel heating oil, we probably use somewhere around 22,000 gallons of heating oil. If we took the price at, let's say, worst price scenario today was $4.35, we would be over budget by $48,000.
Yeah, what do we have? It's $95,700. How much do we have budgeted?
Budgeted, we have $41,000.
Oh.
We did this budget in October.
Times were good.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and get a bid?
Yeah.
Surplus.
Can you get us a bid
I can do a bid for
we'll
July.
look at it in July for our July meeting?
See how we're feeling. See if we're feeling lucky.
Who knows? Maybe it'll go down a little.
Who knows?
We can cross our fingers.
Could we use the word lucky in that instance? Would that be appropriate?
That was done intentionally.
We would still be glad, I think.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, so on to committee, oh, and Stan, Adrian wants to know if she's calculated as an employee for that oil discount.
Probably do pay a payroll to her. She doesn't get a very high stipend.
Oh, yeah. See? Did you hear that? No? Okay. I'll tell you later. All right, committee business, negotiations. Do we have anything?
Do we have meal pricing at tonight's meeting?
No.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. No, that got changed.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, negotiations. Is there anything?
Negotiations has nothing other than to say, we'll talk on Monday.
Okay. Personnel?
Hey there. Do we need an executive session?
Yes.
I believe we do. So,
We need a finding that premature public knowledge would place the board at a substantial disadvantage.
so I would make that motion.
I'll second that.
And all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, then I would make a motion that we go into executive session.
All right. Second it.
First was we had to decide the reason, now we're deciding to go. So,
Motion to,
now at this time, I would like to make a motion to offer a contract, a 2-year contract as assistant principal to Karen Stannard.
Both of these spots here?
Just one line on each.
Okay.
I'll second that.
There you
I don't
go.
know, someone
Okay.
else did, but
Yes, thank you. At Mill River Union High School.
thank you, Ann.
Discussion. All those in favor?
oh, can I throw one thing, discussion, just for the public? Just want to remind folks the process, how we went through this. Len and I looked at initial applicants. The principal for next year, Kaylin Thompson, and I looked at 4 applicants that Len and I agreed were good ones to look at. We sent 2 of those to a committee that was made up of board members, staff, a parent, and a student. And this is the committee's recommendation coming to us tonight. So, thank you for letting me throw that in, Len.
Yep. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? That part is done. The
Congratulations.
next personnel committee is tentatively scheduled for the first Wednesday in July, assuming we have a board meeting.
We do not.
We will not be having a board meeting on the 6th.
Okay.
So would you like to move your personnel to before the board meeting on the 20th?
Are we gonna need?
Personnel?
Yeah.
We might
Okay, yeah.
then, yeah.
We'll tentatively put it,
We have a few
I
things we might.
shouldn't use
yeah.
that word because I can't say it. Tentatively. For the 20th at 6. Thank you.
All right. Is that, you good with personnel?
We're done.
I have nothing for policy because it had to be canceled due to me not feeling well. So the next meeting, oops, wrong month, hold on. Would normally be the 12th of July, the second Tuesday.
Yep.
But I will be in Maine. Can we push it to the 19th? Or is there a conflict with, at 5:30? Are you,
Yeah, I can make it.
Okay.
Unless we're bailing. That's the only time, like,
huh?
unless we're bailing, that's the only conflict that I have in the summer that I
Okay.
can't get out of.
All right. So next meeting will be the 19th at 5:30.
19th of July.
Yes. Next is buildings and grounds.
Nothing to be talked about, we didn't meet. Most of you, if you looked your computer over, you see that we're going to be looking for a new building and grounds supervisor, coming sometime up here in September. I did want to get at least one more meeting in with Gary. We'll see what we can do there to come over. If nothing else, say goodbye. But we'll see if we can find somebody with his abilities. He's pretty good at what he does. I got to give him a lot of credit. So maybe by next meeting we can have something. I'll see.
When's the next meeting?
I don't know. I haven't made anything up yet.
Okay.
I mean, scheduled anything yet.
Okay. Community engagement, it was canceled.
Yep.
And the next one would be on the 12th at 6:30, but we will check with Sam on summer schedule. See what she says. Finance.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We have the following payroll and pay orders for approval this evening. For payroll dated June 3rd, we have a pay order in the amount of $6,553. Dated June 1st, we have, I'm sorry, that was a special pay warrant. Dated June 1st, we have a regular pay warrant in the amount of $6,039.45. And dated June 3rd, we have a regular payroll warrant in the amount of $599,259.53 for a grand total of $611,751.98. And for pay orders from the general fund, we have a pay order in the amount of $1,678,125.66. Also from the general fund, we have a pay order in the amount of $4,644.08. From our lunch program, we have a pay order in the amount of $3,793.52. And from our after-school program, we have a pay order in the amount of $317.77 for a grand total of $1,686,881.03. From our student activity accounts, we have the following pay orders from Mill River. We have a pay order in the amount of $3,220.35. From Clarendon, we have a pay order in the amount of $514.37. And from Wallingford, we have a pay order in the amount of $100 for a grand total from student activity in the amount of $3,834.72. And I do move that we accept and approve payroll and pay orders as presented.
Second that.
Thank you, Doug. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approval? And I can't see, so.
Adrian has her hand up.
Okay, Ann, can you see everyone? And then we got Adrian. All right, thank you, everybody. So the next meeting of the Finance Committee will be August 22nd, which is a Monday at 5 p.m.
Out of the country.
What time? I'm sorry.
5 p.m.
Thank you.
August 22nd.
Ad hoc, do we have anything?
Nope.
Nope, okay.
Do we want that on the agenda next time?
Yeah,
Or
we
do
really do need to meet, so
Okay.
keep it on there.
Okay.
Transact Other Legal Business, do we have anything?
Signatures to that. This part we do is this one?
Yeah.
This one, where the yellow tabs are.
Our next board
Just so
meeting
you know.
is July 19th.
Can I use your pen? I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I don't know if that's already been done, but the board usually authorizes the board chair to sign up on all the pay orders between now and the next.
So we can still pay our
gap
people.
like that between
Yeah.
the board meetings.
Yep.
I would make that motion.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear it.
All in favor? It's just so that Since we don't
authorize the
have-
board chair to sign pay orders because we're not meeting.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
All in favor? All right. Good. Just let me know. Anything else? Or we're on to agenda building.
Andrea?
Yes.
Do you want to change that motion so that if you're not around, Matt could sign as your backup?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, when do they usually?
When would you need those signatures?
Yeah,
probably?
when do you need them?
Definitely do one before the end of, probably, depends, probably around July 10th or so or whatever, because of the credit card. Some of it's going to be tiny.
Let me just change, keep it safe.
When do you leave?
I don't leave until the 13th, somewhere around the 10th.
Okay, so we do need to change the motion because I leave on the 10th. He doesn't leave for vacation until the 13th.
So I'll be around on the 10th.
He'll be
so.
around to sign if I'm not here on the 10th.
So Josh has to withdraw his second.
So
Withdrawn.
Like that.
Don't have anything to do with it.
Withdrawn, my motion. So,
need to make
New
a
motion.
Yeah.
motion.
that
That-
either the board chair or vice chair can do what Stan needs them to do.
Sign the payroll orders before.
I make that motion.
All in favor?
I'm totally in favor.
You're not withdrawing this one, right? Okay, we're good.
Thanks, Adrian, for picking that out.
Andrea?
Well, it was Adrian.
Adrian, yes, thank you. We might as well give him something to do. Okay, agenda building. So we will not have until
20th.
July 20th. What have we already talked about?
Bylaws.
Bylaws.
We will.
Approval.
Bylaws approval.
Discussion and approval.
Yep. We talked.
Curriculum. No.
We
Here,
talked
hold
about
on.
school safety for the first August meeting, and we talked about guidance update for the second August meeting.
Yep.
What do we want for that July meeting?
Sorry, this would be a different topic, but, sorry, would be.
Could we have some test results?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, because we
Please,
will
I mean,
have
that
all
could be a
those in.
one-page report.
Absolutely.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
the first August meeting, Jody, just to forewarn, do a curriculum update? Because you'll already be here with Hoffman doing, okay.
Okay, school safety and curriculum.
Yep.
So, I wonder if an assessment presentation, might really be 45 minutes or so, more than just a conversation, but really giving you all the results of everything we have.
Are we gonna have we have everything? We'll have everything?
The challenging piece will be, I can absolutely give you our local assessment pieces, Smarter Balanced, may be embargoed from the state. We can use those results with individuals, so we can send those home to families, but we may not be able to share aggregate data publicly yet. That's a funky thing that sometimes doesn't happen until the fall, but that I may be able to share some things with you that don't, get us in trouble. I'll share what we have, but I may have to wait for SBAC until sometime in the fall when the state finishes up their work there, if that makes sense. I'll share what we've got. And any of the other board goals, like teacher retention, things like that, I'll look at all of that. I'll share everything I can to give you any update I can on all that.
Are we going, sorry.
No, you said great.
Oh, great. Do we know, because we talked about doing the retreat.
Yep, in July.
So are we going to know that date by that meeting, or if we don't, can we know that date by that meeting, or?
Yeah. If we're bumping our July 6th meeting, I wonder when we can set a day and all sit down and start that work. I think we need to do that.
July might be.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
I don't want to wait till July 20th, though, because when we get to July 20th, we're going to say August is hard. So I don't know. Is it, if we meet for a special meeting to approve the contract on Monday, could we talk dates for retreat on Monday? Is that reasonable? Give folks time?
Nothing else, can maybe we try, if we have a range that we know of, maybe a straw poll or that, whatever that thing that we do normally?
Yeah.
Like if we could have that done
Yeah.
before that meeting?
Before Monday?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Yep. I wonder if then on the 20th, we share something about that, if we were able to do that work. I wonder if there's much else to do on the 20th then, or if that makes a fairly reasonable meeting.
Be a really light meeting.
Would be nice, we haven't had a light one in a while. I hear anything else? Okay, okay,
Let's go with what we...
fantastic.
All right, do we need another executive session? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn at 9:09? Doug, I need a second. Matt?
He was
All in
first.
favor? Bye, Adrian, we missed you.
Thank you, everybody.